Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the series. I'm joined again today with Steve Maguire. How are you, Stephen?
I'm well, Tom. Thank you.
That's the way. So today we're building on what we've done with the model structure. Now we're looking at model navigation, I believe, Stephen.
Yes, Tom, we've got a lot of things we've put into our repository now, and in a practical sense, when people are working on their own projects, it becomes an important task to be able to find what you've modeled in the repository so far. So we're going to look at a number of different ways that you can do that. Let's start on my screen now. You can see that what we've got is a navigation diagram, and we covered this in an earlier video. And this is probably a fairly fundamental way of finding your way around the model. We're going to look first at the project browser, and the project browser is like your file explorer. It's the kind of the way that they're called packages in UML, but they're very similar to folders in your favorite file management system. So any modeler can come into the repository and look at the structure of the repository and start drilling down through particular things to find elements in the model. So they can find diagrams, they can find elements, and they can also when we look at this, we can also display features or properties of them as well. So we've got this one here, the motorist, and the motorist has got a name. So that's an attribute there, and we can look at all of those different properties there. So that's one way you can model. Now, if you notice, we haven't talked about this before, but the window is called the browser, and there are a number of panels on this in this browser window. We've got the project, we've got the context. Now, if I happen to be in here on this requirements model, let's just open up this requirements model diagram. Now, if I'm on this diagram here and I go to context, watch what happens. A lot of the noise goes away and allows you just to focus on what you're doing. What it's done effectively is said, look, I'm just going to show you the things that are in the package that you've selected. So if I go back to the project browser, it is the requirements package that I'm focusing in, and all these other things, while they might be interesting to me at some other point, they're not interesting to me at the moment. So I'll go to the context, and there I am on the requirement, and I can look at these things much more easily without the noise of all the other elements. If I want to go up, there's a little arrow here, and I can click that up, and I can go up a different level, and I can come down into the behavioral models, for example, and click on that. And it's going to allow me to navigate through the model the same way, except that I'm not got all of that, the noise. I call it noise. It's other parts of the model that I'm not interested in. So let's go back to the project browser, and let's look at the diagram panel as well. So here we have the diagram panel, and what's being displayed now are the elements that are in the diagram. And so just the elements in the diagram are displayed in this panel. And the other thing that's displayed is the relationship that a particular element has to other elements. And when I select that, either the element or the connector, it's showing that in the diagram. So I'm easily able to navigate around the diagram. And of course, I can always use my pan and zoom window, which is very useful to zoom in on the diagram. So that's another way of navigating, but at a diagrammatic level. But we're focusing on the repository structure. The next one along is the resources. Now this is a very useful panel as well. It's not about the contents of the repository in terms of the packages and things. This allows me to look at all sorts of different resources, document guides and publishing. And we had a look at this once before. We created a matrix as well. So the resources panel allows us to do that. So that's I'm going to close some of these things here. And of course, we can use our navigation diagrams to get through to different parts of the model as well. I can go through there to the deployment model again, and there I am. And notice the little arrow on the right-hand side. I can click back through those diagrams. So another way to navigate through that. And the nice thing about this, Tom, is that in when you generate HTML documentation or other types of documentation, or you use Prolaborate or WebEA, then you're able to see those through a browser-based version and click on those as well. So what if I wanted to just find a package in here? If I just thought, well, you know, I've got my model closed and I'm not, I know that there's a model in here or package in here, something to do with deployment. So over on the right-hand side here, there's a little edit, single line edit there where I can type in a word. I'm going to type in deployment. Say, you know, I'm looking for something to do with deployment. Our project's rocking along and we have to make sure we make the right deployment decisions about, you know, the infrastructure that we're going to deploy our solution to. So I'd simply type that in, run that, and it brings up this package in the search window. I now quite easily can go, you know, find in browser there, and I can look at that there, or I can say find in all diagrams as well. And that one doesn't happen to be in a diagram, but if I go to the deployment model there, I can see that I've got that deployment model. So that's how you get to a particular package there using the this very useful little tool to find a package. Now, having brought the search window up, I can search for all sorts of different things. So I'm going to close it for a minute and show you how you open it from scratch. I can use the my Control F on my keyboard, or I can go to the Start ribbon here and go to the Explore panel and search. So that's a very useful place to look at when you're looking for things in the model. So we've got, you know, model searches, files, we've got recent diagrams and things. Let's just do a model search there. And what comes up now is a little interface for you to be able to search for a particular term. Now, this looks quite simple and it's very, very simple to use. I'm going to type in, I've heard this term being thrown around, NFC, and I kind of think I know what it means, but I'm not sure. So here I type it, I press the button there, and I've got a bunch of results there. I've got a parking meter, near field communication, and I can see that NFC is mentioned there. Near field communication readers have a capacity to read and write tags. So that's the kind of facility to allow people to use their smartphones to tap. So all of these things are useful. I can look at that guy there, or this parking meter, or this one here, and I can say, let's find that in all diagrams, for example, and it brings up a list of diagrams, and let's find it in the class model, and I'm on that element. Again, Tom, I can, you know, use my Alt-G to find that element in the browser as well. Or again, I could right mouse click on here and say find in all diagrams, Control U. So that would be useful. And so I've got those there and I can find that element in other diagrams. So a number of different ways. The search window has a large amount of functionality, and it certainly is a good topic for another video. We don't have time to cover it here, but let me just show you that there are a bunch of types of searches. So there's common searches and requirement searches, diagram searches, and each one of these in turn has their own list of other types of searches within that group. So we've got, you know, common searches, simple, extended, element name, all sorts of things there to navigate through the model. We'll look at this in detail in another video. Let's just explore a little bit further some of the things that I might be able to navigate to. So let's close this find window. Let's look at our class model. We'll close this one here. Look at our class model and looking at this parking meter element. You notice over here, apart from the fact that the browser has got a number of panels there, also underneath here is a thing called an inspector window. So this allows me to focus on a particular element in the repository. Now, we haven't talked about this, but the element that I've got selected is what we call a context element. It's the element that sort of drives everything else that's going on. So it drives the properties window. I can see that the properties window is displaying information about the parking meter, its name, you know, its project details, and it's the notes are being displayed there. But it's also driving this inspector window. And this little inspector window is showing me like another level down from the parking meter. So the browser was showing me the parking meter, and I could look at it just its attributes and its operations and things. But this is taking it down another level. For example, we can look at the relationships. These are all the relationships that parking meter is involved in. We can also look at the requirements and the attributes. So let's have a look at the attributes, and we can see that there's a meter ID and a meter type there. And we look at some requirements. Now, this was one that a modeler put in recently, which was an internal requirement, and this one is damage resilient. So the parking meter has to be able to be resilient to damage. So here's some text on it. The parking meter must be fortified against vandalism and tampering. So lots of interesting discussion about that. We've got our attributes like we looked at. We've got operations as well. So the parking meter needs to be able to accept a payment, display notifications, perform system checks. And there are a whole lot of other properties here that we haven't looked at yet. And these could be filled out, but project properties, maintenance properties, integration, all sorts of different things. One that we haven't looked at, Tom, but is a really useful one is discussions. So as I said a couple of times, Enterprise Architect has been built from the ground up as a collaboration platform. And fundamental to the way that people work with models is the notion of discussion. So, collaboration. And that's an important thing. And right here on the start ribbon, you'll see that collaboration panel is there. We haven't. We will look at this in another video because it's quite a big topic. There's a lot of things there. But let's continue on and look at some other ways that we could look at this navigation. So one of the things that we can do when we're looking at a model is go to this panel here saying all windows, and you notice there are a number of icons there: design, properties, collaborate, publish, workspace. Let's look at the design one, and let's look at a particular one of these windows, the focus window. So we've got our project browser there, and we'll go back to that, and we've got that, and we can use that to navigate. But that does become, quite busy, and rightfully so, because when you're modeling complex systems and you've got, you might have 10 or 15 different disciplines working in there, UX designers and strategists and deployment people, coders, business analysts, database specialists, and the list just goes on and on. So the repository will build up with lots and lots of content. But this little window, this little focus window, is incredibly useful. I'm going to leave it down in this portion of the workspace, and I'm going to look at this one here saying recent. So let's have a look at what's been going on in the last day. So Tom, you can see I haven't been sitting on my hands. I've been busily modeling. You can see all the things that I've been working on or looking at in the last day or so. And I can look at, the last 30 days, the last 3 days. Useful there, I can look at diagrams, in the last day. These are the diagrams that I've looked at. And of course I can, drill down into those as well. But one of the useful things here is, and we'll touch on this briefly, is this model views window. I'm going to put in a new favorites folder, and I'm going to call it Sprint 1 for this project, and it's the urban parking meter system, Sprint 1. And let's go OK to that, and let's do some cherry picking from our project browser. So one of the things I'm interested in is this traceability, or actually what I'm interested in is this requirements model. Let me just drag that down here, so I can just drag and drop it, and you see that lands in there. The other thing is that I'm interested in some requirements for this perform maintenance. So that might be an interesting thing, or time management. Let's have a look at that and check remaining time. So I'll drag that one on there as well, and that goes in. Now, I'm interested in some other things as well in the behavioral model. I have looked at this main sequence diagram here, and I'm interested in that one. So I'm going to drag that one in. And I'm also interested in some things that are in the class model. So let me just go in here. Our structure, we've restructured this repository now, and let's go. I'm interested in this in the parking meter itself. So let me drag that one in. So effectively what I've done is I've built up my own little project browser. I've got a little group of my favorite things to see. And now I can just simply, click on these and launch them.
So it'd be quite useful if you had your daily elements or daily diagrams that you're working on, or things that you currently need to get finished. You could jump straight back in and get straight back working straight away by the looks of that.
Yeah, that's right, Tom. And it's sort of like I put it there as another form of navigation, because it's something that in my own practice I use a great deal when I'm doing, models of our own internal things. We use Enterprise Architect internally, obviously, and also when I'm working with customers. It's a way of just creating a little set of things that are important to you to work on. So there are a large range of other things. There's one other ways of navigating. I'm going to show you one more, which is this Navigator window here. So it's been hidden up there and we haven't really talked about it. I can drag it off there and look at it there, and you can see what's going on here is I've got a little thing like you might have in your favorite file explorer, and I'm just going to put that back up there and show you what's happening. So again, I can sort of not have to find my way through the project browser. If I want just to find a simple way of getting through things, I can go, okay, here's the parking meter system. Let's go to structural models. Let's go to the component model there, and let's drop down this, and we can go to the component diagram there. So I can just follow that back through the breadcrumbs and say, look, I'm actually interested in the composite structure model there again, and I can look at that one there. I can say, actually, I'm interested in behavioral models. Actually, now I'm going to look at the use case model, and there's my parking meter system and my parking meter diagram. So there are tools for every occasion, Tom, and for every type of user. Some people will prefer to use the Navigator. I've seen people, using that as their main form of navigation. Other people will prefer the project browser. Still others will prefer the focus window, the Navigator, the search facilities. So there's a comprehensive set of facilities, and we haven't touched on all of them. We've touched on probably the most important ones.
Sounds good. Thank you very much for that, Stephen. Very enlightening. I think there's a few tips in there I'll use to navigate my model on a daily basis. Thank you everyone for watching again for today's video. We'll be back again tomorrow with another one. And thank you very much, Stephen, for joining us.
Always a pleasure, Tom.